Hi everybody, this is my video on how I found out I had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So this all started around August 2019. I had a bump in the back of my neck and I went to see a doctor. My mom, kept begging me to go see a doctor, go see a doctor. I didn't take it too much. I thought I had strained a muscle or something, and she felt it, didn't seem too concerned about it. She told me it could be a lipoma or something like that. I think that's what she referred to it as. So she just sent me my normal yearly checkup stuff. She sent me to get blood work done. Blood work came back normal, so she said she would wait and see if it grew or anything. Nothing came of it. I ended up seeing a second doctor, and he was a little more concerned because at this time I had another one grow on this side of the neck, and he's like, yeah, I don't think that's good, but he's like, oh, let's run more blood tests. So I got sent for blood work. On that blood work, my platelet count came back low, and he was less concerned about the bumps, more about the platelet count, but it still kind of just said, well, it could be something, it could have been, I think he said it could have been an infection or something I could have been fighting at the time. So he just kind of, he was like not too concerned with it. I changed insurance companies, and so I had to get a new doctor, and the new doctor saw the platelet counts, and she's like, well, you're kind of young for that. I'm in my 30s. She goes, for your platelets to be that low, I think you should see a hematologist about this. And so we started that whole process. And between then and there, I had grown, so I grew a bump here, and I thought it was just all stress related. My kids had been diagnosed with autism, which will be a video for another time. I didn't have any of the classic symptoms of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma or what I've read. The thing is, I thought my job is high stress and long hours, so I thought, being tired was just from work. But I was drinking 2-3 rock stars a day just to, get up. I would still, even with that, I would have to, take a nap during the day, which pretty high energy. It wasn't like that before, but I didn't really recognize that. So anyway, the doctor sends me to the hematologist, who happens to be the oncologist and my current doctor, my oncologist. So he asked me what I was there for. I had shown him the platelet count. Oh, forgot to mention, at that time I had grown another enlarged lymph node here. And I actually have a scar, I don't know if you could see that. But it had grown. The first time I saw my oncologist, it was probably like about that big. And I showed him the bumps, and he was not concerned about the platelet count at all. He goes, he literally just put the paperwork on the counter. He goes, I don't really care about this. He goes, I don't like the bumps you have on your face. This, like I said, this one is big here and big there. And so he goes, look, we're just gonna, let's start getting all that checked out. So he sent a stat order for an ultrasound, which was kind of scary when they put stat on your paperwork, which for the next couple of months, that's all I got was stat, go, immediately go get this, immediately go get that. So the first thing they did was that ultrasound. Kind of scary. They did it on this one. It was pretty large. And it was not, I think he said it was non-conclusive. They couldn't get anything from it. So he said, next step, he goes, needle biopsy, which was scary. Once I started, I did what everybody did. I referred to Dr. Google, and a big mistake, scared the living crap out of me. But I ended up having that needle biopsy done at a hospital. And again, with all these tests, even though they're all stat, it just seems to take forever. So I mean, this by the needle biopsy, I think it was November of last year, of 2019. So they did that. That came back inconclusive, but I guess it was enough to trigger my doctor to send me for a bone marrow biopsy, which that was scary. I was nervous. It was done in hospital, which was awesome. That it wasn't like at a doctor's office. It actually was done at a hospital. Awesome hospital. The staff, everybody was awesome. Didn't hurt too bad because I did ask for sedation. I was not put completely under. I was awake through the procedure. So I went in. This, like I said, this had to be mid-November. Actually closer to December. I remember we got the results for that one at the end of December. So they did the bone marrow biopsy, needle aspiration. The doctor got the results back and actually didn't get the results. So they scheduled me for at the same time he scheduled me to have this an excisional biopsy of the lymph node, and so during that whole thing, while I was waiting for the results from the bone marrow biopsy and being scheduled for surgery, I had the platelet counts had not gone up. My parents brought me this stuff from Mexico. Call it voodoo, call it whatever you want. It's just roots and stuff that they have down there. It's looks like tamarindo water if anybody's familiar with it, but it's not. It tastes horrible. But being my platelet counts being low consistently on the last three things, the surgeon that was going to do the excisional biopsies, she said, if your platelet counts are that low, she goes, we cannot do this. So I went in for more blood work. Platelets were up again for the new one. My platelets were in the normal range. Luckily they were able to do the excisional biopsy anyway. But so going backtracking a little bit, I kind of fast forwarded on that one. But so I was waiting for the results for the bone marrow biopsy, waiting to be scheduled. I get a call from the scheduler for the surgery, and she tells me that my diagnosis had been confirmed through my bone marrow biopsy. So I found out that I had this not from my oncologist, not in front of a doctor. I was sitting in my bathroom I was actually getting ready to leave. And she goes, we may not need to do this surgery because your bone marrow biopsy is confirmed. And which, I mean, that's a shock to my system. You know, I didn't know what to do. I kind of went in. I was mad. I was mad that I found out. I had so many questions. I didn't have a doctor's appointment for another 2 weeks. But that surgery was scheduled for that Friday. If you still need it, she goes, you may not need it because your bone marrow biopsy came back positive. Still needed the surgery. So I was mad. Everybody in my family was mad that's how I found out that I had cancer. So fast forward, I did get the surgery done. Awesome doctor. Everybody, don't get me wrong. I mean, I was mad that's how I found out, but the staff and everybody was awesome. We got that done. Then I think after the surgery, a week later, I saw my doctor. Got a final confirmation. This was in January of this year, of 2020, and it was honestly, it's just a shock to the system just to hear. You know, obviously it's like the movies, you just hear cancer and it's death. Oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna die. All these emotions. My mom, my dad, my wife, we were all in the room with the doctor. And so at that time we were still missing the grade. So the way I understand it, again, I'm not a doctor. I wish I would understand better, but the way that it was explained to me is for the surgery, the reason they needed the surgery was to get a grade on the type of cancer that I had. So he sent it in for that. Sorry, excuse me. I don't know what's wrong with the camera. It's acting up a little bit. But so he sent it in, and they needed a grade. Sorry about that. They needed to find out what grade I had. So I was stage 4, is what my doctor said, because of it was in my bones. It was, it was present in different parts of my body. And so he wanted to know the grade. Ended up being grade 3A. So non-Hodgkins follicular lymphoma, stage 4, grade 3A. Anyway, so at that appointment, our doctor told me that he would have to. He was going for a family thing. He was going out of the country. and they were still waiting on some results before he decided if he was going to put me through R-CHOP or Rituxan Bendeka. So I had an appointment the next week to come in and see him again for the results, but it was going to be with his physician assistant, I believe is what her position is. So I saw her that following week, and she said, yeah, so it's follicular. We're going to go ahead and start Rituxan Bendeka the following week. From there, I had to go get more tests done. I got an echo. I got more blood work, all this mess. So getting ready. That following Monday, I started Rituxan Bendeka. It was quite eventful. I mean, they told me I could have a reaction just because, like I said, the cancer was just all over my body. So the doctor had prepared me. She goes, people get an allergic reaction. Not everybody, but there is a chance you'll have a reaction. Well, I had the reaction. They started me on all the pre-meds, and once they hooked me up to the Rituxan, so 30 minutes, about 20 minutes, nothing. Every 30 minutes, they were going to ramp up the drip rate. And at the first 30 minutes, they were going to ramp up the drip rate. I started feeling like I can't breathe. I felt like something heavy was on my chest. My face felt like it was on fire, and I couldn't talk. My wife was sitting across from me, and I couldn't talk. I was trying to tell her that I couldn't breathe, and finally the nurse was standing in front of me. She looked at me and she goes, "Are you okay?" And I go, I can't breathe. And that's when the nurses, they went and hit a button, the alarm went off, they stopped the drip, flushed, I got Benadryl. Doctor came and saw me while I was in the infusion chair. Finally, they got it all to calm down, the reaction, and she told me, the doctor told me that this is what they were expecting, so they were prepared for it. They ended up starting everything back up, and it took, I got there at 7:30 in the morning, and I didn't get out until close to 5. I think it was like 4:45, because they have to start slow and slow drip rate, and then I had the reaction, and so from Rituxan Bendeka, I went home. I was tired. I think it was just the Benadryl. So I started with, the first day I didn't feel anything. I was like, hopefully this whole thing is like this. Second, and just a little bit of nausea. So I was on nausea meds, and nothing crazy. Third day, I wake up and I felt like somebody took a baseball bat to me and just beat me all over. Got scared. I was like, maybe I should call the doctor. And then they had given us a handout that had all the possible reactions to all this. One of them was flu-like symptoms. So that's what it was. It was just a reaction to that. So other than that, that's pretty much all I had from Rituxan Bendeka. I saw my actual doctor, my oncologist, I think like 2 weeks after I started Rituxan Bendeka, and by this time they had more information for me. I guess there was markers that it could possibly have more aggressive form of this. I think diffuse large B cell is what it's called, and that's what he's concerned with. So he suggested we switch to R-CHOP, which is more aggressive. Again, how I understood it. It's more aggressive treatment, which it is. And so he said, you're young, your heart's healthy, everything looks good, your kidneys, everything's functioning well. So I think we should start treating you more aggressively now that you're younger. And so we switched from Rituxan Bendeka to R-CHOP. I had my first treatment about a week ago, and I got some videos that I'll upload where I talk about, how I felt through it. Didn't have any reaction to the Rituxan, which is still the same from Rituxan Bendeka to R-CHOP. Rituxan is in both. Just R-CHOP has, like I understand it, the CH part of it are two other chemo drugs. Anyway, and a steroid. And I'll discuss, like I said, in future videos, I'm going to have some videos out, because I did have some interesting things come up when I started taking steroids the day of chemo, and for 5 days too, and I'll talk about it, like I said, in another video. And if you guys like this video, subscribe, and like I said, I'm gonna try and put out more videos. Just even when I don't feel well, I'm definitely gonna try and put them out. I want to put out as much information as I can, things that did help me preparing for chemo, and I want to, you know, tips that from people that I met during chemo. You know, I'll talk about all the other stuff. All right, see you guys.